At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili and has been for nearly 100 years since we opened in 1923. We helped put Newcastle on the map as the hot dog capital of the world. Visit our store, place an order for pickup at mpconeyisland.com, delivery with DoorDash, or find the grocery store near you with our chili locator on our website. Want to own your own MP Coney Island? Now you can with our franchise system. At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili.
That's okay, Ron. We just make it up anyway. We're on the air. This is number 67, guys.
Okay.
You know, we got a special guest here tonight. We got John Sarandrea, and thank you for coming in with Joe.
My pleasure.
Hi, Joe.
Son Joe, he's out there in the crowd. Preston's out here, and my gang here, the gang we've been around. You know, I'm going to say a little bit of a, you want to call it a monologue. You know, we don't have a script on here, but I'm going to read a lot of it from the paper. This is the most informal podcast you're ever going to be on in your life. Okay, tonight we moved the podcast. We have a really nice studio upstairs, but we moved it down here because we have family and friends coming in. We're gonna have some food after. We're gonna have a nice night. Matter of fact, we started, and this guy right here told us, you know what? We get 100 views on our show. We're gonna be happy. John, for 66 shows, we've had over 1,000.
I believe it.
We had Geno Stone down here one night. I think it hit the roof.
Yeah.
Before we even walked out the door, we had over 1,000.
I believe it.
1,000 people watching the show. But we've had like people sitting in their seat. It's an honor that you're here with us.
Oh,
Yes,
because
it's a pleasure to be here.
listen, there's so much that we want to talk to you about,
Yeah.
and we gabbed a little bit before this, but we're going to get into that later. Now, as you see, and I said it earlier, there's people around here that you've known for, and you just said the 30-year
30 years.
thing,
Yeah.
over 30 years.
Yeah.
So, and we met you, and we met John, Randy, and I met you at Sherman Acres when Lindy was still the coach.
Yep.
Yep.
But anyway, John, the format's going to change. We said that. We always thank our producer, Ronnie Mounts.
Ronnie.
And Ronnie has been doing a great job with it. And ServaxNet. This is called ServaxNet.
Yes.
And the guy that lets us use this he's second to none. He's a great guy. He never says no. He just lets us do what he do. We talked about Chip with the episodes, and there's no other town or high school that has tradition as the Red Hurricanes do.
No question.
I'll say that till the day that they put me in 6 feet down. In the
Who could
ground.
argue?
Yeah.
Right.
We've had many guests here on our show, and we asked them the same basic question that we've asked everybody that came to play for Lindy. Because the show basically was based on Lindy Laurel and the glorious tradition.
Understood.
Phil Ball back in the day.
Yes.
And matter of fact, we're reading out of the glorious tradition. It's over here, but we're not going to do it tonight. I think we stopped at, number 1954?
54, yeah.
And the uniforms have changed. I think Brian Ball got out of it. I think 55 was his last year.
Yeah.
He was a coach. So we didn't get to that, but we're going to drop that because we got you today. And we asked guys the fondest memories of Lindy and your fondest memories at Camp Rents back in the day.
Yes.
So that's the question we asked. But we did a show last summer, and Larry Izzo was there. John, we always ask the guys what your fondest memories was, Lindy, when you're in high school, but we never asked the path they took after high school.
Yes.
So what we did was we asked Larry Izzo. John, were you guys all there that
Yes.
night? I think we always said that. His path to his success was unreal. He moved to Florida. He applied for a job at Disney World
Yes.
as he wanted to be a golf pro.
Yeah.
So he didn't know how to golf. He didn't know how to do anything like that. He said the time he spent, and he attributed all to Lindy for his dedication, his hard work and sacrifice.
All those principles apply. Yeah.
Can you add to it what he
Yeah,
said?
I mean, it was almost everybody that came here, which we did by accident, story behind the story. So Larry tells us, he never golfed before he got to Florida.
That was amazing.
So how does that happen when he becomes, hits on the PGA Tour?
Beats me.
So he said he'd park his car at night, put the lights on, and just chip.
Then he would find golf courses or putting places that had nights on all night, and he would practice.
He would practice
like
there.
till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and he made it. He said his first time he didn't.
He barely missed it.
He barely
Next
missed
year
it.
he came back, worked even harder, and he made it.
Amen.
He had to
How
shoot
does
a
that
shot.
happen? The guy didn't golf before,
Yeah.
John. This is the kind of work ethic.
That's
Story
what we
behind
based
the
it on.
story.
But it was so interesting, and I'm sure there is other guys.
Amazing story.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other guys out there
Sure.
that have stories probably as good or better. But man, that stuck with us
That-
now.
yes,
for
it
it's
did.
over a
That
year
was a
now.
great-
And I'm
Stuck with us.
sure when you were coaching, as you develop these guys and they graduate and you keep in touch with these guys, you hear that same thing, boy, so-and-so did this, this, and this. Isn't that amazing how you touched them
Yes.
and installed that?
And that's the nice thing about social media. And social media does have some nice things.
Yes.
That's one of them, is you get to keep in touch with people that in previous times, you would have no way of knowing how they're doing, where
Right.
they're at,
Telephone number,
reading
anything
their
like that,
stories,
right.
all that, you know?
Yep.
So it's great to be able to see that.
We just
today.
found it so, we had guys come in here and tell, story after, Nicky Hammond had a great story. We always talk about Nicky Hammond. Nicky Hammond was a tight end for Lindy.
Yeah.
Lindy very seldom threw. Denny will tell you. He very seldom right. He threw to the tight end. Hardly none. So Nicky
He was a blocker.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
that's
So
it.
Nicky begged him, Coach, you got to throw me the ball once in a while. I got good hands. So the time he threw it, what'd he say? He had it in his hands and he dropped
And he
it.
dropped it.
He said he didn't even walk in front of Coach Laurie. He said, I walked around him.
I don't blame him.
He walked around the sideline and said, I can't be Ron Lindy. He's going to punch me right in the nose. Or give him that old forearm that he did. But anyway, John, you know what? We had wonderful times with you as
Absolutely.
the coach.
Oh, yeah.
And the late
I
Harry,
wouldn't have traded it for the world.
John, Harry DiTillo. Remember Harry?
Of course I
Okay,
remember
you know
Harry.
He was at the table and he used to write down some of the things you used to say.
Okay.
He wrote them down. He'd keep them. Diane can't find
Diane
it.
can't find it.
Diane can't find it.
Praise God for small miracles.
It was all good stuff.
No, it was all good stuff.
As you're coaching,
Harry.
telling the guys, you got to get better. You got to do this.
You sure he wasn't planning on blackmailing you at some point?
But anyway, we
Knowing
can't
Harry,
find it, so
that's
you're off the hook.
I'm sure there was a gem or two in there
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, there were.
John, many players walked through the halls of Newcastle, and they gained the respect that you gave them
Yes.
through the years.
Well-
And I'm sure, like Lindy and like John Sarandrea, they'll come back and they'll say, boy, this is the way we had to do it, and it made me better when I got older. And, me and Sam talk about it all the time, 'cause
Yeah.
Sam played for us. So,
Absolutely.
and I remember his senior year. He didn't want to play his senior year. He did not want to play for some reason. But guess what? Harry taught him to play his senior year.
Thank God he did.
And he did. He played. He was a role player.
Yeah, he
Yep.
Had fun.
played quite a bit.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
He probably averaged 17, 18 minutes a game. That's more than half the game. And he was a very good point guard.
Yeah.
He just happened to be playing behind the maybe the best
Yes.
point guard in the WPIL.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
And he played, he got a ring, a WPL championship.
Yes.
2 rings back to back.
Yes.
So, and Randy and I have memories with you that can last 3 days. So we need 3 days.
Right.
Yeah,
But it was all- listen,
meetings
all
at
good
the
stuff.
WPIAL, meetings at the PIAA, right?
Right.
Right up until the end.
Right.
All right, listen, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our little thing right away and talk about this and that. We do at the end with the NFL, we have like prognostic picks. So we're going to go through that real quick. Chip's going to talk about college, the NCAA, what's going up in the playoffs.
High school, we're going to talk about high
A
school.
little bit of
too,
high school, a little bit of playoffs, and then in the NFL, then we'll go right to you. Go ahead.
Basketball starting right up your alley. We finished football, it's done, so.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Newcastle basketball first. The Canes are 6-0.
Yes.
2-0 in section, 1 win at home, 1 on the road. Last night, a little shaky, but they held
right,
on. They
yeah.
jumped out to a big lead. Did you get a chance?
I didn't watch it, but I certainly knew what the score
With
was.
the score.
What,
wasn't how
one
they
by
did.
5 at Woodland Hills?
Yeah.
And that's not an easy,
54-49,
not
right?
They have 2
Yeah.
D1 guys that
Yeah.
play football, but they're very athletic.
I'm
an
sure.
easy place to win down
And
there.
like you said before, John, this high school sports, from the bottom team to the top team, there's minimum. You got to be on your game every night. So
Okay.
congratulations to them. They will be at Butler. We're going to talk about Butler.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stories about
Aren't they
Butler.
ranked third in 6A now?
Yes.
Second now, yeah.
Yeah.
Second now.
Second now.
Moved up.
Two. Woo. So they're going to go to Butler against Matt Clement. You remember Matt,
I
right?
remember
Still
him
there.
well.
And 7:30 tip. Something about, I saw in the Post-Gazette today, they're averaging 67 points per game, giving up 47. And I think something about your teams, because it was running red Hurricanes, right?
Yes.
But your defenses were pretty damn good too,
Oh, yeah.
John.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you started that thing with defense.
Yeah, I think if you look back, we won some games when we didn't have great scoring teams because we were able to stop the opponent from scoring. So we could win in the 40s, we could win in the 80s, but we could also win in a game that was played in the 40s. And not only does it have to be good defense, it has to be good man-to-man defense. So you're not going to go as far as you can with the zone. And there are going to be times when you can't press because the other team they get used to it. So you have to be able to rely on a gritty, tough man-to-man defense.
And more possessions. You're getting more
Absolutely.
possessions, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's what happened. After you left, Ralph sort of took that up,
Oh,
and that's
Ralph took
exactly
it to
what they're
another
doing, right?
level.
He
Yeah.
took it to another level. And he's out there orchestrating that defense, so,
And it actually seems like it gets stronger towards the end of the game.
yeah. I think we wear him down.
See,
We wear 'em
that's,
down.
and there's a good point you make, Chip, because that's the whole philosophy.
Yeah, you
Whoever
go.
quits first. You can see at the end of the game, the other guys are holding their shirts, they got their hands on their knees, they're huffing and puffing, and we're ready to make the last push.
Right.
Sam could vouch for that.
Yeah. So we always felt like we conditioned better than everybody else did, because in order to play that style that we like to play, you have to be in tip-top shape.
And they were.
You just
right,
have
they
to
were.
be.
And that floor helped you too.
Oh,
because
yeah.
That was a big
Certainly.
floor.
If you
Equalizer.
counted over the course of a season, how many extra steps
Oh,
our
yeah.
teams had to play,
Yes.
as opposed to a traditional high school floor,
10 feet longer.
it adds up. It
John,
adds
did it
up.
help you go into a smaller court?
No, I think it hurt us.
It hurt you?
Yeah,
Why?
I think it hurt us. Well, again, when you like to run, you want a big open space, big lanes to fill, and when you're restricted into a smaller box,
Yeah.
it gives the other team less time, more time to recover. You only have to take a few less steps to get back on defense. So the bigger the floor for us, the better the advantage, you know? Now, there were some things when we pressed that could turn into an advantage in a smaller place, but all in all, the bigger the floor, the better it was for us.
And
And that's
really-
why we did well in the playoffs, I think.
Really, the only regular season opponent that had the same floor was Ambridge.
Yes.
Yes.
All the other schools were at 84 feet.
You're right.
You and Ambridge were at 94.
Yes.
Yep.
Made a big difference.
We have a question. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get Sam over here.
Yeah.
You're talking about, we want you to, he's gonna describe your practice.
Yeah, of
practice
course.
sessions, when they can get him over here. Did you tell him to come over, Ron?
Yeah.
And I don't know, this year, Ralph has a freshman starter. okay?
Yeah, I see.
Kai
Cox.
19 points per game.
Yeah? Incredible.
Kids, he's incredible. He's
Man
incredible.
child.
I mean, with the ball on defense,
Yeah.
perimeter, he's going to be really
He's not
good.
selfish at all, and John, if his kid keeps his head on straight,
Yeah.
he could be one of the greatest athletes that ever come
Oh, I'm sure in time he will be.
out of Newcastle.
And what I think he's doing, he's actually making Ralphie and Damian and Cairo better.
Because they have to worry about him too.
Oh, for sure.
Can't just key on Ralph.
For sure.
right?
What a difference. Now, these guys haven't played together much.
No.
Now, your team sort of came along together.
Well,
These guys sort of mishmashed.
Well,
together,
that
you
happens
know.
sometimes, but keep in mind, we played 60 games a summer back in the day.
Yeah.
So we played 2 seasons worth of games in the summer.
Okay.
Just to get ready. By the time we got through the summer, we were ready for the season to start. You know, we still had another few months to wait.
Did you ever start a freshman?
Yeah, Eddie Pagley on occasion.
Okay.
Started first as a freshman. You know, interestingly enough, David Young, there's a great story about David. Now, David was a Newcastle kid all but 1 year. Now, people don't know that. They think he
remember.
went to Union and
Yep.
moved from Union. That's not true. He went to Newcastle schools K-8. His mom got remarried. They moved to Union, and he went to Union for 1 year and then came back. And of course, that's the end of the be-all, end-all. But
okay.
David started and became a 2,000-point scorer in the county, in large part because he played his whole freshman year at Union and probably scored 400 or 500 points during that year.
Oh, wow.
Might have done the same here.
Probably.
Might have
He's
been
that
in the
talented.
rotation here anyway.
Talented.
But yeah, it's very rare though.
Very,
It's very rare.
very real.
You know,
There's Sam.
We have a question.
Tammy.
You practice with Coach Sarandrea. We want to know, we want to know how the practice sessions went. I mean, we were talking about the big floor being an advantage for playing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we weren't the Running Red Hurricanes for nothing. So we ran first and then played basketball. So, yeah, I think we did a lot of conditioning first, and then we got into the basketball. So that's what I remember.
Yeah,
It's been
well,
a long time ago.
True,
yeah, but,
Sammy. It's true.
You know, we ran.
So if you give me this piece of paper for a minute, I would say to the guys on the team, okay? Say, here's the practice plan. We put a copy in the locker room, and I take one out for me to reference and here's the plan. It's only supposed to take 2 hours, but gentlemen, understand one thing. We are gonna go from top to bottom, no matter how long it takes.
Right.
So we might be here for 2 hours if we do everything the way we're supposed to, and we might be ordering breakfast. We don't know yet. But we are gonna go through everything on this plan before we leave this gym. And once they realize that you meant that,
Right.
it was
Right.
2-3 hours tops at that time. And then as the season goes on in basketball, you gradually cut back on the amount of time you practice, Sam? You don't have to do the drills that we did in the beginning, and you can go right into
Now
your
that you say
defense and
that, it was like
offense.
a goal if we did the list right and we did it to standard and
Yep.
we were getting out of there on
It always made the game
Absolutely
easier.
true.
Yeah.
Made
Yes.
the game easier, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it wasn't football.
Oh, yeah.
You know, guys that played for Lindy, and my brother Denny will tell you, you practiced so hard. On Friday, we couldn't wait the Friday nights
Right.
to play against
Right.
somebody's different meat.
And you knew that they were going to quit before you did.
Exactly.
You knew it
Yeah.
because of what you went through Monday through Thursday.
Right. John, did you shorten your bench as you got
Always.
always?
Always, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a trend for all coaches as you start to move on in the, I guess, yeah, it's shorten your bench and kind of let the game dictate a little bit more to you what your substitutions are. Fouls, who's tired, things of that nature. Whereas during the season, I stuck pretty much to a rotation. And when it was at the 4-minute mark, we were substituting. At the 6-minute mark, we were substituting. Just to get everybody game experience and because you never know what the game is going to bring. Somebody's going to be in foul trouble at some point, and you're going to have to depend on somebody. And you want to make sure that's not the first time their feet hit the floor.
Right.
You want them to be seasoned. And we were fortunate where we had a lot of games where they were over at halftime. So that also gave us a lot of opportunity to play our younger guys. But I'll say this, and Sammy will agree, the toughest teams that our guys played against, our first team played against, was our second team.
Right.
And on many occasions, they would beat their butt. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
On many occasions. They knew how to play against them. They knew how hard they had to play against them, and they gave them fits. So,
That's a key to building a program.
yes,
too,
yes,
Right?
and that's
key
why-
to building your program.
and that's why practice is so important, because you're getting all that competition all week long
Yeah.
against guys that know everything about you, because they're with you every day, They're not just showing up one day a week and we won't see you for another, month when we play you again. It's good. And yes, you do have to have 10 guys that are willing to battle in practice, maybe even 12,
Right.
As you go along.
That's where you win, on the practice floor.
No question.
Yep.
No question.
Any
And that's
good
where you
coach
get
will tell you
better
that.
too, John.
Yep.
That's where your younger guys get better every day in practice, So, and Lindy, I know, believe that too. Practice is, I can honestly say this, in 30 years of coaching, I loved practice. I loved it. I couldn't wait to get to practice. Some guys hate it. Some great athletes,
I
I
hated
can't
the
stand practice.
I was the worst practice player
I know
ever.
some of your
Well,
assistants
Hated
didn't
it.
like practice.
No, because
They all never liked
they will have to
practice.
answer to their wife when they showed up home at 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
Me too. But at the end of the day, that is exactly when you get better. For reasons you stated, you're going to be challenged more in practice than you will by any opponent when you have a program and depth and a tradition and guys that are dying to be part of that as they get older.
Right.
And that was the beauty that I noticed about Newcastle when I got here, was the pride. The pride. And not too many places now where your grandfather went to Newcastle, your father went to Newcastle, and now you're here. There aren't too many plails like that.
Right,
There
right,
are
right.
a lot of kids that are Newcastle legacies, and they understand
Right.
from the day they're born. I had some friends that used to call it a cult.
It is.
And
It is.
to a certain extent, you could call it that. But those guys that are second and third generation Newcastle athletes, nobody had that. Nobody had that. The pride, even if the skill level wasn't the greatest, they'd They'd beat you into submission.
Our basketball teams were like that, and our football teams were tough. Like you said, we'd be marginal sometimes, but our defenses were critical.
3-0,
sometimes. And
6-0,
We were hitting
right?
harder than anybody else. And
Yeah.
to this day, that's the way it
I
happened.
guarantee it.
I think as you got through and then you left, John, and then when Ralph had success, and we would see pictures of you at the Palumbo Center, and who'd we see in the first row? Anthony Richards, Brandon Donald.
Oh, yeah, they were
as
babies.
little kids.
Yeah.
And that's how you build that program.
Yeah.
Them kids couldn't wait to get on that floor. And here they came, and then they did it all over again.
Perfect, illustrating my point perfectly. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
You know?
All right, let's talk about competitive balance. I know you know
Yeah.
somewhat about
Yeah.
this, and John.
Did you look at the football
as
stats this
well.
year?
The success, the transfers.
Yeah.
Talk some about.
So I looked at, when I was elected to the WPIL Board of Control, imagine the irony there. Can you imagine that?
How'd that happen?
My only regret is that Ace Heberling wasn't
He
still
was
the
gone.
head of it.
Mr. Heberling was gone by then.
But, yeah, and we laugh. And of course, I worked with Tim. And Tim was an excellent director, by the way. He was a very good athletic director, Sam, as you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But he was also a really good leader of the WPIL.
Yes,
But
he
anyway, one of the reasons why I was chosen by my peers, superintendents at the time, was because they charged me with doing as much as I could to try to get rid of this inequity that was going on between the privates and the publics. Now, I'm a Catholic boy born and raised. So, it wasn't that I had anything to do with me being against Catholic schools. I went to Catholic school, Like I said, I was raised Catholic and proud to be one. But there's just no way that you can compete against a school that gets to pick from anywhere, and you can only pick from these 6 blocks here.
Yes.
Yes, you're
Just
right.
not gonna work.
Can't work, John.
No.
What's the solution?
So, being from New York, not that the Catholic schools had any less success in New York, they didn't. They were very successful, but it also the system allowed there to be success for the public schools too. And of course, there were years where the public school had the best team.
Right.
But they were separate all the way up until the state final. So in other words, the only way a private school in New York State can get to the final is if they beat all the other private schools along the way. They didn't play a public school until I shouldn't say the state final, the state semifinal, because in New York, the semis and the finals were in
The Palestra, they
Glens Falls
Oh, okay.
at the time. Not anymore, but that's where they were at the
Okay.
time. It's kind of like Ohio. They bring the Final Four.
Columbus.
Yeah, and you play, it's interesting because you played on Friday night and then Saturday. So you had like half a day to prepare for the championship game. Like, oh my God, we don't even know anything about these guys yet. We were just trying to get through the semifinal.
Right.
So that made it even. So the public champ ended up playing the private champ in the state final. The best public school didn't lose in the first round to a Catholic school, and their season was over.
Okay.
That didn't happen in New York. They didn't want anything to do with that.
And is it because of the travel that would happen if you're bringing, let's say, a public school from near Philadelphia to
Yeah.
play Newcastle? I mean, you're going to have to travel in
Yeah.
a playoff game.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about at
Pretty
that
much
time of the
happens now.
year. But what I was going to say to you, that was never the reason. Travel was never even a blip on the radar. The reason that was always given was they were afraid of lawsuits. They were afraid that there were going to be lawsuits.
I read that someplace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I did
sure.
read that
It's
someplace.
still-
down
I'm
in
Having
Florida.
been at all the meetings
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that,
It's
afraid of
very understood.
lawsuits.
Yeah.
When you're a superintendent of schools, the one thing you can't be afraid of is lawsuits. Twice a week, somebody would come in and said, "I'm getting my lawyer," and that line goes around the block. I'd say to myself, get in line.
Right.
That's why we have a solicitor. And whether it was frivolous or not, you can't be afraid of that. You gotta be able to stand your guard. Stand your ground and fight for what's right.
Right.
Because
you're right.
if you don't, then everybody in the world is just going to say, "I'm getting an attorney. I'm getting an attorney." So they came up with the formula that they're currently using. What's that called now?
It's a competitive.
The success formula?
Success.
PIA competitive success formula.
Right, okay. And there's all kinds of appeals that go on anytime anybody's forced to move, and you know how that goes. But it was a Band-Aid. If you look this year at the champions in football, there were 12 teams. I think 7 of them were private.
Yes.
And I think 3 out of the 6 state champions were also private.
Correct.
Meanwhile, they make up less than 20% of the state's teams. Yeah. So how do you win 50% of the championships when you only make up 20%
Yeah.
of the membership?
Right.
That's you gotta be a pretty lucky guy to go by, unless there's something that's stacking the deck.
Or there are teams that go 6 or 7 years and win a St. Joe's Prep or
course.
Berwick. They win 8. How do you do it, John? You know in high school
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Well, Berwick is great because they were a public school. Now, the story there was always they held their 8th graders back a year. And then when you're in high school, there's a big difference between when you're a sophomore and you're a junior. Strength and mentally and all that stuff, you know.
No,
You're a
you're
young
right.
man in both years, but in that 1 year from sophomore year to junior year, it's a big deal.
Yep.
And in college, might not believe it, when the kid was a sophomore and then he becomes a junior, he went from a young man to a full-blown man at that point. 3 years of weightlifting, 3 years of eating at training table. I mean, now you got a beast on your hands,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Right.
So a year in high school
Big difference.
is a big difference
difference.
because these guys were all a year older than everybody
I
else.
think that what they're trying to do legislatively is eliminate those lawsuits. So
Yes.
they can change it and fix it, but something got to be done
Well,
sooner or later.
you know,
You think that'll ever change?
well,
Ever?
Sam, it depends on the amount of pressure that the membership is willing to put.
Right.
Okay.
Right now, there's not much pressure.
Well, I don't understand why 82% of the membership is allowing 18% of the membership to dictate.
Right.
I mean, where else would that happen?
You can't figure
In a
that out.
dictatorship
Yeah.
somewhere, maybe,
Why?
but it shouldn't happen.
No.
And it shouldn't happen because it's not right. It's not right, it's not fair. If I were a Catholic school, private school, let's say it that way, because it's not only the Catholic school. If I were a private school coach, if I became the Kennedy Catholic coach 2 weeks from tomorrow, I would ask them to fire me if I lost a game. I would.
You should.
Because I'd be able to have the best players in an entire county and even in Ohio could
saw
offer.
that.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, with all due respect, yeah, you should win.
You should.
Now, when I was a Catholic school coach in New York for 8 years, I played against other Catholic schools that were doing the same thing we were. So, you know, there were no nights off. There were every night that we played, there were 2 and 3 future NBA players on the floor, sometimes on the same team.
Wow.
You know, so they were wars. Talk about those guys playing on an 84-foot floor.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those high school gyms in New York are smaller than that. Oh, believe me when I tell you, they were little. They were like Ben Franklin. And that's a big varsity game, you know, and it seated 200 people. And 200 people were there the night before sleeping there to watch the
To
game.
get in.
Yeah.
Like our fans did.
Yes, absolutely.
3 6'9" guys under the basket.
You're not kidding. Yeah, and listen, they were stepping out of bounds because their legs were. You know, think about Kareem. My dad used to take me to see Lou Alcindor play when he played at Power Memorial. It's kind of where I got my fire and desire and excitement to want to coach someday. Played, not on that level, but I played. But that's where I started. My dad would take me to see guys like that play. And then eventually I became one of the guys that was coaching guys like that. And it was, you know, I have to give my father the credit for that because he's the one that used to, I remember sitting there. There was another guy, his name was Bob Masavagis, and he played for Power Memorial too. And Bob was 7 feet tall as well. And what these other players did to this guy, every time he touched the ball, it was like there was a big collapse of, you know, and he was getting hit with a tsunami, just guys slapping balls, and those big guys had to be excellent free throw shooters because, man, when I tell you, they were going to go to the line 20 times a night. They weren't beating you because they were laying it in.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't going to happen, you know.
Foul shots.
And then when Will Chamberlain came to Farrell, if you remember
Yes.
the stories about that, I hear it all the time in Mercer County. Oh, we beat Will Chamberlain. You know, 'cause I'm sorry, I wasn't born yet, but we're still talking about that. But at the end of the day, you know, they beat Will Chamberlain. It was the only game that he lost in high school.
Wow.
And the only game he fouled out in.
I'll bet. I'll bet he had Mercer County referees, right?
The only game, well, I don't know who was
Yeah.
on the game.
Yeah. If he had,
I wasn't born yet either. So.
John, I know.
John, I probably have
He
to.
wasn't bored, you definitely wasn't bored.
Yeah, but I would have to think that District 10 referees did the game,
Probably.
right? Those referees didn't come in from Philly, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think
We
so.
always said, we got D10 referees, every time they would go like this, you know the way your defense
yeah.
is playing rough, same way, a little touch, and they kept calling fouls on
Yep.
it. Just
We
the way-
can't-
they
we
just
can't
looked a little
survive
different,
that
right?
way.
No.
No, you're right.
Guys, I don't know if you remember this game, but it was 2002, and we were, at the time, 17-0. This is a team that had Mark DeMonico and Tommy Joseph, Hoover Gibson, Dante Spino was here at the time, Leon Ward,
Yes.
good Joe Carter, good group
Yes,
of kids.
right.
You know, overachievers, hard workers, really good shooters. So we played Franklin in what was the YMCA fundraiser game. And Franklin was equally undefeated at the time. And you know, Franklin has a great tradition
Yes.
of basketball when they were AAA, when there were 4 classifications. Make a long story short, this I've never seen happen. Tell me if you've ever witnessed this. So Hoover Gibson gets fouled, and it's the player's 5th foul, so they have to remove the Franklin player from the game. But they don't. So Hoover goes to the line, he's shooting a 1-and-1, he makes them both, and then somehow it gets determined, and I don't know if you remember this, Sam, it gets
That was
determined
number 5.
that
Right,
that it was 5, and now
Right.
they had to take him out. So I remember it was either Nick Morocco or Plata Boers or one of those guys or
Jeff Valentino.
Jeff Valentino. He took a deep breath. I saw him do it. He took a deep breath and then he started walking toward me. And when I saw him take the deep breath first, I knew he wasn't coming over to say, "Give me good news." And he said, "John, remain calm. I got to tell you something." I said, "Jeff, you can tell me anything you want. Just don't tell me we have to shoot those free
taking
throws
points
again.
off the board.
Don't tell me that. Well, listen to me for a minute, John. Jeff, I'm listening. Just don't tell me that we're going to have to shoot 2 free throws again, because that will never happen again in the history of basketball in any state on any level, and maybe even in the world."
Right.
Well, that's what we're doing.
We gotta shoot him again.
Let's shoot him again.
Did you ever?
No.
We had to shoot him again because they didn't. It's not our responsibility
They didn't administer.
to take the
Right.
guy that has 5 fouls.
Did he make them?
He made 4 in a
Four
row.
to get 2. 4 to make 2.
We can make a movie about
And
this.
we won by 1.
Get out. Get out.
1 point.
Yep.
So if you took those free throws away, I probably would have had an aneurysm and wouldn't be here sitting with you guys now.
Now, by rule, he was correct, but you need to bring common sense into things, too.
Yes. Why would you make somebody shoot him over?
I mean, I would take the hit if I were being evaluated by an official's
Yes.
observer
Yeah.
for letting those 2 free throws stand, but I would have let them stand.
Because sometimes right.
It's not the rule.
It isn't.
Yes.
It isn't. Common sense
Exactly.
should dictate. But that was, there were so many amazing things. How about the time when Rick Steele?
Don't you ever shoot the ball again?
Yeah, don't you
Who did I tell that to?
ever, never
never,
shoot that ball
never.
again.
I've said
It
that
was
to more than
halftime.
one guy.
It was
Somebody
at
tried to
halftime.
dunk the ball and it didn't dunk. Who was it?
Mark Byers.
Byers.
Yeah, Byers.
Byers.
Banquet,
Down at
He
Beaver,
slid it
back of the rim.
Back of the rim.
Yeah, it was that Robert Morris.
Robert
Yes.
Morris, right.
Don't you
Ever, never,
Don't
ever,
you
never,
ever,
ever, never,
never,
ever,
ever.
never, ever shoot the ball again.
That's something Harry wrote down.
We remember that. Me and him
That
were
was
sitting
it.
right behind
Yeah.
him.
So if you go back to that game, we lost 70-69.
Right.
Yes.
They went on to win the state championship. We were beating them by 13 going into the 4th quarter. I remember this like it was yesterday. That's 1995. What's that? How many years ago now? 30?
Third, coming up on 30.
I mean, I remember it. In fact, I will probably not sleep tonight because this was brought up.
I was 42. I was only 40. I was 42.
Sammy, I was in my 40s with you, buddy.
Brubb was still the AD.
Yeah, of course. So anyway,
Trainers.
he has a
You're
breakaway
trainers.
dunk,
Frick
a
and
breakaway layup, and he goes to dunk it. He's never dunked the ball in a game in his life.
The ball went ping.
Yeah, but yeah,
Never
it
went
did.
into the net.
It went. He missed the dunk, and the ball went all the way back to half court.
Yes. Right.
And now all of a sudden there was a fast break going the other way. And of course, as the basketball gods
was
would
the
have
first-
it, they scored.
Well, that was the first half of the game, right?
Right.
No,
No,
that was
no.
in the 4th
No, that was
quarter.
the fourth
Yeah, it was
quarter,
late
Sam.
in the game.
That was the
That
fourth
ends.
quarter.
That ends the game.
Right.
Right.
That ends the game. That just crushed us. We never recovered from that.
Right.
And then they beat us by 1, and the only time they had the lead was at the buzzer. 71-70.
Hard loss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I cut a couple of years off my life after that game. And then, of course, if you guys were going to ask me, the toughest loss of them all.
Fitzgerald Field.
They're all tough. They're all tough. But losing to Erie McDowell in overtime,
We had a 17-point lead.
we had a 20-point
20-point lead.
early in the third quarter
in the
with
third quarter.
5:45 to go in the third. We went up 20. Eddie hit a 3.
With
we
8
went
minute
up
quarters,
20.
John.
Yes.
Right, 8-minute quarters.
That,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in high school, but it happened that night.
John, I want to tell you one thing.
Wow.
Like you said, you guys are winning by 20.
Yeah.
Harry McDowell come down, hit a 3.
Yes.
Went back up court. I don't know who shot the 3. Didn't get the rebound. They come back up, hit another 3.
Yeah. Bang. Now it's 14.
I got up out of my chair. I was sitting with Johnny and my brother and Shawzy and
I said, where you going?
where you going? I says, the game's over. I don't want to watch it. They're going to lose this game. I don't
Meaning
wanna-"
us.
And I
Yeah.
went-
You could
I
feel
went-
it.
I
Yeah.
went in the lobby, and I never come back out to the game with
Seen
the
it
I
in
don't
their
believe you,
eyes.
Bob.
You told them after the game,
Yeah.
if you can remember this.
Yeah.
You said, I have one thing to ask you guys. Why'd you quit?
Yeah. They
Do you
did.
remember saying
Yes.
that?
Yes.
They quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
It's just like you can see that, and Harry was sitting right next to me. Harry looked at me and Randy was sitting there. We said, look at their eyes. You
Yeah.
can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
They were mystified. Like,
Defeated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Defeated.
I had a handful of sand in my hand. I felt like it. And somebody told you got to hold this sand, but it just keeps slipping
coming out.
Flip it away.
I kept looking at the clock. Would you please run? You know, I mean, but I could feel it. Certainly, I've been around long enough to know.
You could feel
I
it.
could
9 out
feel.
of 10 times you beat this. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
more
We
times
had
you
played them earlier in the summer league, and we beat them by 25.
I was gonna ask
Maybe
you.
that's not a good thing.
When the brackets come out and then they finally win and it's a matchup and you're scouting them, and I know you're not taking them lightly.
No.
But you see them and you say, I played NA, I played Butler, I mean,
Listen,
I
that
played
year
some
we played
quality-
Rice, we played St. Raymond's,
Right.
we played Iona Prep, we played LaSalle, we played 4 top teams from New York City.
We went to you played in New Jersey, right?
Rutgers.
Well, that was one year we played Rice, absolutely.
right.
You remember?
Yeah, we drove down. Tony
yeah.
Shiverini, God rest his soul.
They were 2 in the
Jerry
country
Ratchey.
at the time.
Yeah, we all
Yes.
I would imagine every Newcastle fan there, when they come out of the locker room and came around and started their layup drill, so we're gonna kill this team.
Meaning
But we're just
McDowell.
looking at them, McDowell.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna kill this
Yeah.
team, but.
No, you have
the
to
way
give
the game
them
went out,
credit.
And we've seen it happen after that. Things just happen.
You have to give them credit.
Yes.
They certainly didn't quit.
Yeah.
And, then other teams with a killer instinct like they had and a good coach, they sense that the other team is on the ropes too. When you're a fighter, right, and you've been losing the whole fight, and all of a sudden you land a couple,
Yeah.
and you're watching this guy
Stagger a
show a
little.
weakness that he's never showed before, you start to say, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can turn this
We
thing
got a
around
chance.
right now.
Yep.
Right.
And sure enough,
And then kick it up a notch, and there you go.
that's exactly what happened.
So if we're gonna
When
talk
everybody
about-
fouled out.
We're gonna talk about that. What was your most satisfying win during your tenure here?
I want
you
to
have
say,
one.
I have a lot. I have a lot because there were so many games that maybe weren't in the playoffs or on the championship level. But there's so many games during the season that you were really proud of your team too. You know what I mean? Because now they're starting to believe that we're the team to beat, we're the standard, and we're going to defend that and play that way when you play against them. But probably the game that I was most proud of was when we beat Franklin Regional, starting the sophomores, and Justin Ferris. And we beat Franklin Regional, who was one in the state at the time, in the final. And, and then all those kids were back for another 3
Yes.
years. and
Yeah, right.
We ended up winning 3 in a row
Right.
in Quad A. Franklin Regional did go on to play in the championship game. They lost because we had lost to Butler at Westminster, if you remember that.
Yes.
You guys
They
remember
had-
that?
Yes.
They had the Lovelace kid, right?
They did.
Aaron
And another
Lovelace.
big kid, too,
Right.
that had transferred in. Ironically enough, the coach of Franklin Region was one of my managers at Pitt, Rob Greenleaf.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, and one of his assistants was Norm Law, who was an assistant with me with Paul Evans at Pitt. So it was kind of like a.
You mentioned that game at Westminster, and we talked about Ace.
Yeah.
The game ball come off, and he was looking for the game ball. And he actually wrote to the Newcastle News, who has that ball from Newcastle, need to return it. There was a big thing in the paper about that.
What, that game at Westminster?
The game at Westminster, because the game ball got stolen. They thought, I don't know what happened to the game ball, you know.
You think in the $2 million budget that the WPIL had, they could buy another one?
He was looking for a ball.
What do you think?
Actually,
I think you could buy another one.
Absolutely.
We're gonna,
I'll tell you what, I'll chip in.
Yeah,
Right.
we're going to put a bow on high school. This week, we had 3 football players get offers from Edinburgh, Kyrell Harris, Nate McKnight, and Kayvon Gardner.
Awesome.
And then also Rondell McClinton to Wheeling University. So congratulations, guys.
That's awesome.
I know those are just your first offers. There may be more, but we're heading, the football program's heading in the right. Real fast, we're going to go through the NCAA.
Chip,
what a mess.
real quick on high school, though.
Yeah.
One of John's former players is now coaching at Wilmington, Nick Marmo.
Right.
Everybody in Newcastle's familiar with Nicky.
Oh, yeah.
And they're undefeated right
That's
now.
awesome.
And Wilmington has struggled
They struggled.
mightily
I struggled.
for the last 40 years in high school basketball. So shout out to Nicky.
Yes, absolutely.
Great job keeping
Good job, Nick.
You know,
Good
as
job.
good of a coach and a football player that Nicky was, he was an even better teacher and man
Yes.
and human being.
Absolutely.
So,
You're right.
And that's because he had great parents.
Yes.
I talked
You
to
know?
Nick, Rachel's son Gino plays out at Laurel basketball, and I was talking to his father-in-law, and he said, Sam, he said, it's just, the kids are just not coming out to play hoops.
Yeah.
And Nicky's doing everything he can
Yeah.
to get these kids to come out.
Yeah.
And he did.
I'm very happy
He
to
turned
hear
it
that.
around, you know.
Good for
He was a
him.
pretty good offensive lineman, too.
Pretty good.
When he only go to Penn State, right?
Right.
He wasn't too
He was
bad.
pretty good.
Good?
Because of him, I got to meet, because I was principal at the time, I got to meet Joe Paterno.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was actually in my office.
Nick's
I
another
said to Joe, you
good
know why I
story.
called you in here?
You know a guy. You got a guy.
I'm going to have to call your mother.
Okay, and then the NCAA real quick. This week I saw, because the NIL, John, and that whole money.
Transfer portal.
The transfer portal, and the other piece of
Not
that
good.
now is
The NCAA is a mess.
It is.
the portal
personal
opinion.
has
Yeah, you're
now that you can transfer now, and the bowl games haven't even started yet. And these guys that are in the actual tournament, those guys they got to decide whether they're going to play or they're going to, and it's a mess. But I think the NCAA will tweak that, hopefully. But I saw something this week. Texas Tech had a wide receiver that I'm not going to name, but they gave him, on his request,
I seen that.
$700,000.
$700,000.
Which is
Of NIL money.
Yes.
NIL money, but
Yeah.
some of these guys are getting 1, 2, 5
Well, yeah,
million.
depending upon where you go.
This guy got 700,000.
See, the funny thing is, they were getting it all along. They're just getting it legally
now,
now.
Right.
Legally,
they have to pay
right.
tax on it.
Listen to this,
Right.
John, listen to this. I
Right.
read
This
this.
is what he required to go to Texas Tech for 1 year. $700,000 cash up front.
Yeah.
3 cars. 1 for him, 2 for his parents.
Chauffeur.
Personal driver in a Cadillac Escalade to drive him from practice to his dorm.
Right.
His family gets hotel and travel and 10 tickets to each away game.
Player for
Airline,
Texas
the
Tech.
whole 9 yards. And
Wide
if he
receiver.
gets injured, he still gets paid, injury pay on top of that.
Yeah.
Now,
Out of control.
that's a bad news story there.
And then now you have to coach that guy.
And now you got to
Right.
coach
Now you
that
got to
guy.
coach him.
Really?
Right.
So why go to high school?
And John, you want to hear his stats for this year?
Yeah, I
Just
get it.
leave.
You want to wait to hear his stats?
Okay.
He has 8 catches.
8.
8 for the year. He has 123 yards, and he has 0 touchdowns. He's at Texas Tech.
8 catches.
8 for the year.
I had
They
that
gave
many
you guys-
on my couch watching the game.
Randy could have caught 8 too. I know.
Good. I probably would have went 9
I
or 10.
know he could.
I'll give him 7, but he ain't getting 8.
Depends who he's
Don't
playing.
count me out.
John, way out of control, correct?
So I just listened to
Bad
Rick
control.
Pitino. If you want to go online or Facebook and listen to his, and I think St. John's was undefeated at the time, but he's talking about the same thing that Jay Wright talked about when he was coaching at Villanova, the same thing that the coach at Virginia talked about. He can't coach during this stuff. He can't do it. It's just not, you're not able to. Can you imagine if you were recruiting a young man to come and play for you, and you took out all the guardrails. Now, we're going to sit you your freshman year. You're going to play some, you're going to learn. I'm leaving. Now, before, you could still leave, but you had to sit a year out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There
The
were
old days.
some responsibility, okay? So we went from the players getting nothing, all right, all the way to the other side where the players get everything. And once again, we skip the middle.
Right, yep.
And I don't know why we do that. We go from left to right and forget that there's even a middle ground. Because I can assure you, I couldn't coach during this this time period either.
We forgot the middle ground for 5 years now. That's how, it's getting
Yeah.
worse. It's getting worse. With this NIL, the portal transfer,
Yeah.
it was just a matter of time before this was all gonna come out.
So let me ask you a question. You have an illness, and it's serious. And your doctor wants to treat you a certain way. You know, the doctor that went to medical school for a decade and did his rounds and stayed up all night for 3 years in an emergency room in some inner city somewhere. And he knows how he wants to treat you. But a board of non-doctors tells him he can't do it. He can't do it. So you have people on the board of the NCAA picking the 64 teams or the 68 teams that make the NCAA tournament that never played or coached basketball a day in their life. Now, come on.
Yeah.
If you get on an airplane someday and you see me sitting in the cockpit, get off.
Get off.
Get off. All right?
would imagine.
It's no
Right.
different.
No, right, you're right.
You got people flying the plane that aren't pilots.
Get off.
Get
I mean,
off.
if you want to break it down to what it is, they're not even pilots,
Right.
please.
Analogy.
Right.
You know,
It's
the other
not-
part of this, John,
it's
is
not right.
some of these marginal players are in their NIL agreements are asking for playing time. If they don't play this amount, and they
Yeah.
don't play on third down, they don't
Yeah.
get taken off the field, John.
Well, that's when you
How are
got to
supposed
quit.
coach?
That's
How
when you got to quit as
You
a
got to
coach.
get out.
Yes,
Why do
you're
you
right.
think Saban is no longer at Alabama?
But what's behind
You can name a
all
dozen
of it?
guys of that.
What's behind all of it? The money.
Money.
Oh, it's
That's
It's
what
the
is-
cash flow now.
Follow
that's
the
what is
money.
And it's there.
driving everything.
And it's there.
And you have Nike and whatever
Adidas.
else major corporations
Puma now in
that
the
are
game.
pounding money into this thing.
We asked a question before the
what's gonna
show,
happen.
and I think I asked one of these guys, we were talking about Belichick going to North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
There's tons, we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
North Carolina got a lot of scored there.
Oh, question.
They got a lot of money.
question.
Tobacco money.
Big tobacco money.
Yeah.
Right.
Number 23.
And he's set-
Absolutely.
he's
Hey,
probably-
Belichick himself could throw $2 million in.
Certainly.
Right? You know, what's the big deal?
And he's probably setting his kid up, you know. and
Probably.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
he's
that's
setting
what's
his
going to
kid up.
happen.
Oh, that's
He's
what
in
he's
his
doing.
70s, right?
Exactly.
he's in his
72.
70s.
He's
Yeah.
my age.
So listen, when John Calipari, who's a good friend of mine, when he became the head coach at UMass and left Pitt, I took his place. So we were good friends and been friends for 30 years.
Right.
And he's been in our gym to watch and
There's
come
that
and say
30
hello.
years again, John.
Yeah,
he's got
wow,
30 years.
Sammy. Let's throw that number around like it's, half an hour.
Right.
Wow. So anyway, Calipari leaves Kentucky, as you all know, and he goes to Arkansas, where the big money from Walmart is,
Right.
where the big money from the Dallas Cowboys is, and where there are other major corporations, the Clintons, for goodness sake. He's going to have more NIL money than anybody in any sport anywhere, because he's got 3 of the top 10 richest men in America that are pumping the
funding
pump.
him. Sure.
Can you imagine? Did you ever hear this? I'm sure I'm a little bit off when I say this, but it's a good idea, good way to frame the difference between $1 billion and $1 million. Because I don't think we really understand that. 1 million minutes from now, it'll be 2 weeks. Or, no, I'm sorry, 2 months.
Yeah.
1 billion minutes from now is 40 years.
Wow. Yeah,
So look at the difference. So if they if I'm a billionaire and I throw 5 here and 5 there and 5 there and 5 there and sit at a blackjack table and play 10 there and whatever, I still have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. How do you compete with that?
You can't.
I do know one thing, and most coaches would agree. If you give me the best players, because I can go get them with the money, I'm going to win a lot of games.
I would imagine Arkansas is going to get pretty good.
Oh, there's
yeah,
no
they are.
question.
Yeah,
They're already
they
there.
Yeah, they
And
are.
you
It's
know
all
what?
about the Zord.
Yeah, no
all
question.
about it.
Cash is king, buddy.
Right.
Cash is king.
Always
Somebody told me
was,
that one
always
time.
will be.
All right, let's real quick about NFL too. What about number 22? with the pick six.
Unbelievable.
Last week.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the interception a week before.
And the
His
intercept.
mother was over the house yesterday. He told him, to his mother, I'm back.
He's back.
Where were you?
Where were
Yeah.
you? Right, where were you?
Well, you know the battles that these guys fight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a change.
you're
It was
right.
a big, huge change.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And he's settling.
So the Ravens are one of the top organizations in
Yes.
the NFL for years,
Yes.
right?
And it was a big,
Yeah.
he was treated very well at Baltimore.
Yes.
And he had to it took him a while to make the adjustment, but go ahead.
Yeah, but the week before, him and Malik's on the same field.
I watched
they
the
both
game
hit
from gun to
interceptions.
gun.
And then he does the pick six this week, and
Yep.
John is just a Newcastle kid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've seen it, he's seen it, we've all seen
Well, I'm
it.
also going to say that I saw these kids walk in the halls.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was both of their superintendents.
And it shouldn't surprise
And I did say, well, it's an amazing story, especially for Gino. Okay, it's an amazing story. Gino knows no bounds. If you tell him he can't do something, get ready because he's going to do it.
Right.
It's just a matter of him putting his mind to it. But these kids are not only NFL football players, we know that. But let's rewind and go back to what genuinely good kids, good students that they were in high school.
Yes.
These are good kids from good families. I think both of them really raised by their moms, right?
Absolutely.
So give them
Absolutely.
all the credit in the world.
Yes.
But I'm talking, Gino, what we would do to that kid and Malik, come down, we want to do this with the special ed kids, come down, we want to do that with the special ed kids, and they would do anything for anybody.
Right.
And still,
right.
those are the kind of people, not only end up being successful, but those are the kinds of kids you want to see
Yes.
be successful.
Absolutely.
It really is an amazing story. And I was kind of surprised when I was reading all the stuff on Facebook about nobody who was announcing the game even brought that up, especially when they both had a pick in the game.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And almost similar.
Surprises me.
Similar to what Gino's, went to the ground, got the ball. Gino got a tip, but it was similar, and they both played in the same position too.
Right.
Yeah,
Both free safety.
incredible.
Yeah.
There you go with your social media. Don't you think there's somebody out there
Oh, yeah.
that would want
Well,
to?
that's what your people
Well-
behind the scenes are supposed to.
Right.
You can't know
I
everything.
think the
Right.
producers, they dropped the ball.
Yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't research it. There's
No,
two
they
kids
didn't.
from Newcastle. Man, there's got to be something that we
Yeah,
got to talk
something's
to.
gotta click.
Not only did they talk about it, and they dropped the ball, and to make them look even better, if they'd have mentioned it early, then they both get interceptions.
Right.
Wow!
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, you kidding me?
Both
Or
those
what?
balls were this far off the ground.
Oh, I-
Malik got
Well,
his hands
they
under that ball.
reviewed Gino's.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
that's amazing, though.
From this,
luck from
from
when you
this
think
little
about it.
town.
Yeah. And those
this
kids would
whole
walk
time.
around the gym with the T-shirts, they got them
Right.
printed out, just a kid from Newcastle.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's the way they portrayed themselves.
I'm just Jenny from the block.
That's all
it.
they are.
Right?
You're right.
So that's
Gino
it.
would walk in this place, and there would be 50 people he didn't know, but by the time he left here, he
He'd
knew
know.
them all.
Yeah.
Because he and that was his upkeeping,
Well, he was always that way, Sam.
Yes.
That's just the way he was, That's the way
Ever
he was
since the
raised.
little
4
kid,
years he was
did
in
this-
high
he
school.
did
Remember,
it.
he was the
Humble
ball
as
boy.
He
could
was a
be.
ball boy for
Yeah,
us.
humble as can be.
One of those athletes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, don't forget, these guys were really good basketball players, too. Don't kid yourself.
Oh, yeah, no, they
They were
were.
really
Coach
good
Humphrey
basketball
told me,
players.
I said, what's the difference between Gino and Malik? He said, Malik just has that straight-on speed.
Yes.
That a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
But Gino has that athleticism.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't have.
Right.
Well, they kind of, Gino kind of has a sixth sense that a lot of guys have. You ever hear a baseball player, big-time Major League baseball player will say, the game slows down for me. Do you know what that means? That they're able to see a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in slow motion. And we can't.
No,
We
right.
see it, it looks like it's coming in at 150, right?
Right,
But
right.
these guys just have something that's, the
can
game
see it.
slows down. And Gino has that because he'll already know where the ball is going to be thrown before the quarterback has even cocked his on a throw. If you watch the video, if they could put a camera on him and them, he's already on his way.
Oh, yeah, right. He
And
knows.
that ball hasn't even left the quarterback's
Right,
hand
right.
yet.
He has a sense for it.
Yeah.
Great
I mean, that's a gift.
He just sits back
What
there.
you just said, if you go online and read about Gino and from his coaches or from super fans, these guys get online,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they say
I
about
know.
him,
Yep.
about that sense.
Can I tell you where I saw that? I saw it in basketball. I watched him go east-west on 2 or 3 occasions when a guy threw a pass, and he's already running to it, and I'm saying, where's he going? And sure enough, the guy threw it there, he steps right in front.
Yeah,
So
27.
I think to myself, how the heck did he know that was going
He
to happen?
told 27 in front of him. 27. He said, battle. 20. He's a rookie. He told him, he went like it.
Yeah, he's pointing to him.
So his mother said to him, what did you tell him? He said, block that guy in front of me. I'll get in the end zone.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, he did.
exciting. I jumped off the recliner about 3 feet off
Oh,
the
yeah, absolutely.
Me and Randy's going up Applebee's on Monday. They're gonna have the NFL has a program. Pick six, you get 6 wings or something. So Randy's
What,
buying
from
the
a
beers.
hometown guy? Or is that what it
Yeah,
is?
anybody NFL.
Randy's
You go to
buying
any
the beer.
Applebee's,
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
buying
if
the
there's a
beer.
pick
it's a
six.
promotion.
Oh,
Pick
yeah,
six.
that's
So we're all
awesome.
going to. Randy's buying the beer, so don't bring no money.
All right, so
I
I
love
got
that stuff.
I got 3 things. One's a question for my son Preston. For
Yeah.
you. He wants to know what was it like? What was the game plan when you coached against LeBron? Because now you guys were winning at halftime.
Was Prey part of it?
Well, they win at halftime. We were there. We sat behind his mother.
Well, we were down. We were down only by 4 or 6 at the half.
thought
And
we
then
were
I think
winning.
he scored 20.
We were winning at half.
Maybe we were.
Yeah,
We were.
I think he scored like 28 points in the second half. What was the game plan? Do you remember when Mark Ortiz went up for a layup?
Yeah, he slammed against the bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could have caught it in midair before it even hit it.
Right.
And I was like, this guy's not human. I mean, this guy's going to be, really something incredible.
Sean, we-
so we just want to, you just want to make a guy like that. We always say when another team has a great player, you're not going to stop them from scoring, but you have to deny them an explosion. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to score 20, 25, fine. But you can't let them score 50.
Right.
Like Kobe Bryant scored 70. I mean, you're not going to win that game if you let a guy go, But you're not going to shut him. We're not going to shut LeBron out.
No, right,
That wasn't one of our stronger teams either.
No.
How'd they
We had a
get on
good
your
team.
schedule? Who scheduled that?
My buddy John Gianmarco, and
Okay.
he ran a classic at the Civic Arena.
Civic Arena, that's where we
And he
played at.
always put us against the toughest team he could find. Thank you.
Thank
They
you.
finished number 1 in the nation that
Yes,
year.
yeah, they did.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
so
did.
no, we did it because I wanted the kids to have the experience of not knowing what I know now.
Right.
Of having the experience of being able to say, hey, we played against LeBron.
LeBron James.
Now you understand that if we'd have won in '93, I could be wrong on this, but I think I am. I think Kobe's team won it in '93.
Yes, yeah,
So
they did.
we would have played him too.
Right.
And that would have been, maybe arguably the 2 best basketball players in history.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Randy and I sat in the stands, and before the game,
His mother was like 5 rows down from us.
and she was selling
LeBron's mother.
She was selling photos.
Yes.
Of him with a basketball uniform
Yeah.
on and a football uniform on. She was selling them for $25, and she kept saying to the people, "You're all going to be sorry one of these
Yeah,
days.
she's right.
that you didn't buy this," and he signed
Right.
it.
He signed
He was
it.
even signed.
And she's
Yeah,
right.
Well, we didn't buy it.
Yeah, we didn't buy it.
We
We
didn't buy
didn't-
it.
we
We
didn't
didn't buy it.
think,
She
you
had
know?
them.
Yeah.
She
Yep,
had like
she
10
had
or
'em.
11 of them.
Yep.
She was selling them like hotcakes.
If we knew then what we know
Oh
now.
my God! Yes,
He had his football
absolutely.
uniform on when he was a junior.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he had his
Oh, there's no
Basketball.
question he could have been a tremendous NFL
Oh
player.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Tight end.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
and he still can play.
Yes, he
Yeah,
still
oh,
can
yeah.
play.
Was he 40?
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Still got a
Think
little
about that.
gas.
He's
He led
40.
it. And
40.
Wouldn't you say he led the USA Olympics team to a gold medal?
Oh, yeah.
I did. I enjoyed
Between
every
him and
game they played.
the coach or the kid that played for Golden State,
Yeah, yeah.
he won it.
Kevin Durant was
Kevin
pretty good,
Durant. No, the other one, the
Curry,
point guard.
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry's the one that won it.
Oh, yeah.
He was like a man on a mission.
Oh, then he went to Davidson,
How about
Yeah.
that?
right?
Yes,
Davidson.
Yeah,
Davis.
Davidson.
Bobby McKillop, who was his coach at Davidson, was in the Catholic League with me coaching.
Wow.
And he coached the best shooter of all time. How about that?
I need you to do
Amazing.
me a favor, Mr. Pia. I need you to tell Ralph that Chip won't be at the game Friday night because he's going to be home watching Notre Dame, probably lose to Louisville,
This
and
is
so
a
he can't
standard
make it. So if you
ball-breaking.
could explain that to John that he can't,
Chip, I don't believe you're going to be home.
I will not be.
and that's
I don't
his team,
believe it.
John.
John, I'm a pit guy.
John,
I'm not a Notre Dame.
he's a Notre Dame guy. I'll show you
Me
proof.
too.
Aren't you a
You know
Coney
what
that
happened?
night?
He had a Notre Dame
not a
jacket
Coney
on
Friday
one day.
night?
Randy
No, I'm
won't
a
let him
working
live him
He
down.
had a sweatshirt on Notre Dame. Well, Chip,
God
I
forbid
see you
Randy
change.
sees you
I see
Oh,
you,
yeah.
I
with
see you
something on,
change.
John. You're in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, good luck to the.
So he's a
to-
Bengals fan, too.
Right now, he's a Bengals
I
fan.
love the Bengals.
But good luck.
Can I tell one funny story?
Go ahead.
I want to tell one funny Randy Rayburn story.
Go ahead. I don't love this.
This'll be
So
good.
Randy was driving the van. All right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Was he under 100?
No,
No.
I don't think. I don't think he was, because the people couldn't say for sure what it said on the side of the van. So that's how fast he was going.
There's Santa Claus.
But he knew the van was our colors. So for sure, he knew it was Newcastle. So I said to Sam, who's driving the van tonight? He said, Randy. Why? I said, because I got 5 calls before I even got off the bus.
We were going, yeah.
Of a Newcastle
We were going to
van
Quaker Valley.
speeding
Quaker
past
Valley.
us. They were exaggerating. Doing 100. Doing 85.
They weren't exaggerating. They weren't.
So I said, will you talk to Randy, please? And tell him, cut it down to 80, will you?
Thanks for sticking up for me, John.
John,
Appreciate it.
I know what you're saying, because I was in those vans.
I threw him under the bus, and you
Right.
pushed him further
Right,
up.
right.
I'm in the vans, and I think Nattel's up front or something. I'm in the
Oh,
back.
yeah.
I get a text from him going,
Bobby's a good passenger.
Oh, yeah.
he texted me without telling Randy. He goes, I hope we make it home.
Sam, did you have any trouble, Sam, when I got there safe?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Santa. Hi, Santa.
Boy, you want Santa, I can't say anything, boy. Look, she wants your autograph.
Oh, she got her list. Sam.
She got her list.
There's a list. That's on her list.
That's great.
All that stuff you want. Wow, I got my work cut out.
I'm looking on the back. Sam, you're on the naughty list. What are you doing on there? I know. I know.
You ain't gonna believe who this is.
No. I would have never guessed it.
Santa Claus.
He said he would have never
I
guessed.
would have never guessed.
It looks like Santa Claus.
All right, if
Claus.
you're really Santa, what song did you sing to me last year on my birthday?
Oh, well, let me tell you what, I'm a year older and a year deeper.
Do you remember that line?
I can't remember.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Oh, jeez. But then I had a jingle
Santa,
bell
you
to
missed
it.
the line. You missed the.
You didn't catch on.
What was that, Elf?
Elf.
Do you have a question for Santa, John Santa?
Do I have a question for Santa?
No, do you have? Go ahead. Then he
Yes,
can
I
ask you a
do.
question.
Santa, without violating any North Pole policies that you might have in place that you're not allowed to do.
Oh, don't
Is
worry
there,
about policies.
is there anybody, is there anybody here that you can think of that is going to get coal from you this year?
Oh, Newcastle, my friends in Newcastle,
Yeah.
never, no coal. Granite, baby.
I'll take granite.
Oh, yes, granite.
Oh, that is
But
so
it won't be
funny.
on the countertops either.
You
I'll
know
tell
a guy,
now.
right? You know.
Yeah, you know a guy.
Oh, where's the young Flora man, Denny? Where's Mr. Denny?
He's over there.
He's over
Where?
there.
Oh, there he is. I love him. There he is.
Hey, you can't fit down this chimney. You know, it's not big enough for
Yes.
that
Oh,
slide
gosh.
he has up there. You know.
I could fit down anything.
Come on, Sammy. How do you
Any
think
chimney,
the
I got the
presents get
magic.
there?
Yeah, how do you
How do the
think?
presents get there?
A lot
Magic.
of butter, buddy.
I'm trying to keep saying
Sit
it.
up.
I'm so glad
We're
you
glad
came,
you
Santa.
came, Santa.
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
really
I
good.
Sure
wouldn't have
did.
missed it for the world.
There's a little girl back here that you might be able to no.
She don't want to have anything to do with me. Oh, and you know what?
Did you
I
bring-
might not blame her myself.
Did you bring Mrs. Claus tonight?
She's here. She's here. I can't go anywhere without her.
Your little helper in the sled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. She brought even a biscotti, Sammy. Oh, boy.
Listen, my mouth is watering. Mrs. Santa makes great biscotti.
I'm sure she does.
Great biscotti. And,
I'm sure she does.
The other Mrs. Santa Claus sitting over, she makes good pizzelles.
It's a good combination.
Yeah, it is.
Especially
Absolutely.
this
I'm
time
gonna
of
go
year.
over to the kids. I'll be
Okay.
back
Okay,
later.
Santa.
Nice to see you, Santa.
Hi, Santa.
Santa Claus. She's looking, she's keeping her eye on him.
She ain't crying.
Yeah.
The other
Well, he's
thing,
far
the
enough
other thing
away,
is,
that's
good luck to pit volleyball tomorrow night. Chip, it's my team.
yeah.
Good luck to the girls tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah.
Out in, they're
Hopefully
playing
they can win a
Louisville.
national
Hopefully.
championship.
I hope so.
They would be favored, John, right?
Oh, I don't
I don't know.
Who's in the final against them?
Well,
They're
I
playing
think Penn State's,
Louisville,
they're
and
playing
Penn
Louisville. I think
State's on
Penn
the other
State's in
side.
there too, which,
Okay, so
Yeah,
if
that's-
he only has 2 losses.
did they make it to the final yet, or are they still in the semifinal?
Semifinal.
They're going to play for the semi, but Penn State's on the other side of that
Wouldn't
bracket.
that be
would
They could
just
play each other.
where would that game be?
Louisville, the KFC.
Is that where they're having
That's where they're
the
having it.
championships?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all there. You have more questions for Coach?
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay.
Wait a minute, before you go,
you want me to
before
go?
you go,
Okay.
we're gonna finish with John, finish with Chip.
I'm done.
No.
I'm
You know
done.
what- Okay,
I thought he was
look, okay, real quick, John, we do this prognostic pick, and I'll just tell you guys what you are going into this next week.
Oh, well, I love
Randy, you're 6-4 after week 15. Chip, you're 7-3. Frank, you're 7-3. Ziggy, 6-4. Preston, 7-3. Sam, I'm 1-9.
it. Kidding.
1-9.
It's hard. Bend your heart again.
1-9.
Bend with your heart again.
Pick Carolina last week. You deserve it.
I know. Bobby, yeah, I did. Why didn't you stop
Everybody
me?
else is 4 games over 500.
Why didn't you stop me last
I
week?
tried. You
1-9.
wouldn't listen.
Bobby 6-4, Yummy's 5-5, and our guest, John, you'll have a pick tonight. You're 8-2. Randy, real quick, Jags and the Raiders, it's even.
Where are
I'm
they
gonna,
playing
I'm going to
at?
ask my guru.
I think they're in Vegas.
That's Joe.
John, pit pen.
John, Randy, Jags
not-
and Raiders.
that's not Raiders.
Raiders. Chip, 49ers, Dolphins. Dolphins minus
I'm
1.5.
going to take the Dolphins at home for the Pia brothers.
Okay. Frank, Vikes -3 versus Seahawks. Vikes. Ziggy, Bucks -4 with the Cowboys.
Bucks, Tampa
Bucks
Bay,
Tampa Bay.
or Dallas.
Heart, not head, Zig.
Dallas.
Dallas?
Oh, boy.
They were 4 in a row. Preston, Texans or the Chiefs? Chiefs -3. Huh?
KC.
Kansas City.
Mahomes going to play.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right,
Well,
now
we don't know yet.
I need some help.
I don't think there's any way that he doesn't play,
Right.
but how effective is he going to be? That guy's not going to step on that. He's going to be on that field.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like I think TJ Watt
Yeah.
is going to be on that field.
I hope.
Yeah.
And then, John, I don't know what they paid TJ Watt.
But it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Not
Yeah,
enough.
he does
Still
everything.
not
Is he,
He does.
is he okay?
They both have high ankle sprains, and it's
Yeah.
they're going to play. These guys have to play 3
They
games
are.
in
You know
11
better
days.
than anybody, Sam.
I know.
They're worse than
11
breaks
days.
sometimes, right?
Well, anyway, I need help. Eagles, it's my turn. Eagles -3.5 over the Commanders.
Where are they playing at?
That's easy.
They're in
Washington.
Washington.
But the Eagles, do they need to win this game?
No.
They got to
Do
win.
they have,
They have
do they
to.
have a playoff?
They still have a chance for home field.
I thought they had it already.
No, you have 3 teams with 2 losses.
Wait, you're saying Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles are -3.5 over
Detroit
the
has 2
Commanders.
loses. They only have 3.
Detroit, Minnesota, and
Okay.
They're
Philly.
all in play.
I'm going with the Eagles.
They're all in play.
Bobby,
Sam.
Steelers and Ravens. Ravens -6. Yummy, you ain't here. Guess, John. Saints and Packers.
Joey?
Packers -13.5. Joe?
Saints, Packers. What's the line, Sam?
13.5.
13.5.
Saints.
Saints.
Saints. John, as you well know, in Newcastle,
Yeah.
people like to put shackles on games and do some gambling.
Right.
Ziggy's, I'm going to...
First I'm ever hearing of this.
I'm stealing this line from Ziggy.
Okay.
He would say, when babies were born, when they had maternity at Jameson, like at Maslin, they get a football, they get a rundown sheet. At Jameson, that's Ziggy's line. They get a rundown.
Listen, 30 years ago, there were bookies that hated you in this town because you blew spreads out of the water.
They took us off the sheet after a while, right?
All right, anyhow. Coach, we know that in your career in coaching high school, you had some confrontations with the guys wearing striped shirts.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you came back to coaching high school from major college,
Yeah.
Big East,
Yeah.
University of Pittsburgh. You knew that the quality of high school officials were not going to be anywhere near what you were used to at the NCAA level.
Yeah.
But what did you look for in an official who worked your games? What made that guy a good official or a bad official in your eyes?
So going from New York, and which was probably unfairly, but a breeding ground for referees too, because a lot of those guys had ends.
Mickey
Maybe they didn't
Crowley,
decide.
Dickie Papero, you knew all
Eddie
those guys.
Corbett, those
Yep.
guys. They've all done NCAA finals.
Right.
And they did my high school games too. So anyway, I always liked referees that let you play. I never, when I had a really good player, I never liked it when they were gunning for him. And all of a sudden, with 4 minutes into the game, they're on the bench with 2 fouls. You got to give those guys, I don't want to say a little latitude, but
Right.
Yeah,
Let 'em play.
you gotta let them play a little bit, okay? Especially the big guys, inside. You can't call every little ticky-tack. So if I started to see, I'll use the word leaning, if I watched and I thought in my mind that somebody was leaning a little bit in a direction, that made me see red. That made me,
Rightfully
doesn't
so.
mean I was always right.
No, you
It
probably
was just
weren't
it
most
was
of
my
the time.
perception that he's leaning a little bit, and I didn't care for that. Now I will tell you that I know for a fact why, because I have some common sense left, that there was some sort of a conspiracy from the top of the WPIL down when we had Rick and Marcus to get us out of that tournament as quickly as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Which didn't,
I don't
which
know
didn't,
that.
which
I
didn't
don't doubt
happen, by the way.
Right.
Which didn't happen because Bill Sinning, who ends up being a really good friend of mine, and we do business together when we build schools because he does furniture, and in addition to that, we were on the WPIL board together. He threw Ricky Steele out of the game in the second round of and him and Ace were like that. So you're not going to sit there and tell me that when 2 players get into a heated thing, one gets thrown out, the other one gets nothing.
Right.
Please.
And, yeah.
Please.
And the animosity from the opposing teams
Yeah.
was high.
Yes.
I mean, you were just steamrolling some teams, and
Yeah.
a lot of teams, they can't take the loss. They
Yeah.
can't. Not like most good coaches can.
Yeah. Well,
And
you
it
know
was
you're going to
still-
lose some games.
Yeah.
But that experience in our first year kind of left a bad taste in my mouth as we went along. And then in addition to that, you hear things, John. You hear things about District 10. Why was it that every time we played a District 10 team in a very important game, semi or a final, that the referees had to come from Chicago to do the game? Because they wouldn't let District 7 guys do it, and they wouldn't let District 10 guys do it. Why? Doesn't that say that you mistrust?
That's exactly what it says.
I mean, nobody's sticking their ground. So, that's what put a bet. See, that stuff didn't go on, in the Big East. The referees were not fond of Paul Evans, but I never felt like they took it out on our players. You know what I mean?
Right.
I never felt that way.
At the NCAA, at that level,
Yeah.
a little bit more, I don't want to say, more efficient.
Oh, yeah.
Around
Well, let's be the best of the
more,
best.
I mean,
Yeah.
hey, cream of the crop.
Cream
Yeah,
of the crop.
absolutely.
You
got to remember, when I was in the Big East was the king.
Oh,
Yes. Oh,
The
absolutely.
king of the kings.
Absolutely. You got
Alonzo,
Georgetown,
Mutombo,
basketball.
Mullins, all these guys are they won the best player in the nation awards. Walter Berry. You're talking about some pretty good players here,
Yep.
So this was the Big East's heyday, where television market was cornered by the Big East. Now everybody's on TV. You can watch a Division III game at 4:00 in the morning if you want.
right.
And it'd be on.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of leveled off. But at the end of the day, I think that was it, John. I think I got a little paranoid. I absolutely believe that everything that I thought at the time wasn't the case. But there was some things. No one will ever tell me when we went to Beaver Falls with those guys. No one will ever tell me that wasn't a lay-in-wait deal right there. No one will ever tell me that. And again,
Yeah.
you remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked with John. John's been as being a regular with us, where we talked about officials
Yeah.
and how they are decreasing. John gave it up.
Well, nobody wants the abuse.
Exactly, and that's what we talk about. It's you know,
part of it.
Parents are worse than
Right.
the coaches.
Oh, much worse.
and
Much
and
worse.
fortunately, John might not know this, but I help Frank Pedro. He does the
Frankie.
signing,
Yeah.
and I help Frank do the middle school.
Yeah.
And actually, we got 5 new officials this year for basketball.
That's
And-
great.
And 2, if I'm not mistaken, two are girls. So
That's great.
Darian Johnson,
Right.
for Newcastle.
Yes.
Back in the day, she started last year, and she's learning.
Well, there's no reason why a
Right.
girl can't do a boys'
Right,
game.
right.
No reason.
And she's
No reason.
Yeah, wow. Listen,
Yeah.
it's
There's
coming.
women, there are women officials in the NBA.
Right, and they're getting
And
down
they're
to
very
the
good.
point where we
You're in
need.
the NFL.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
bodies, and
No,
we did
no,
do
I
pretty
understand.
good.
And one of them's from Pennsylvania, too.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I will say this and give some kudos to your brother. I respected him highly. Not only
I don't.
as a well, that's all right. I would say the same thing about my brother, but other people do. But here's what I wanted to say. When Eddie would tell me I was wrong, I believed it. And when Eddie was telling me I was right, I believed it. Because he had an impartial set of eyes, and he knew what he was looking for,
Yeah.
and he understood what was going out there. And when he say to me, John, you were wrong on that one, that was the end of it in my mind. That was the end of it.
Just
in
wasn't
my
making a call to make a call.
No.
mind. Yes. No, that's not the way that one is, John.
And if I remember, there was some good crews of referees back
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
right? And those guys sort of stuck together for years, a crew. They would be together.
Referees would tell me years later when I would be a spectator at the games as a principal and or a superintendent that they loved coming to Newcastle to do a game. They loved coming there because of the atmosphere
Yes.
and all that.
We had
And we
games-
normally got the really good ones too.
Yes.
We normally got the really
still
good
do.
ones.
You know, John,
We should.
In the past 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7 years, we've got more playoff games at our. There's a different
think that's
regime came
great.
in. Different regime
Yes.
came in. I'm not saying because
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was
why
the
wouldn't
athletic.
we?
I wouldn't say because I was the athletic director, but I
Yeah.
met people that were on the steering
Oh,
committee.
100%.
And they said, "Let's go to Newcastle."
You
That
lobbied
myth
hard,
about,
Sammy.
That myth about driving 40 miles to play. Well, you're coming to a beautiful gym, and everyone that came to
Told
our
us
gym
that.
said it was a pleasure
One of
being
the
a
best
game
in the
manager. They didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
We had everything
We had
ready
everything
for them
set
to
up,
go.
and
We
we
had
used to it.
And we treated them
Yeah.
like kings.
And they
I
love
mean,
you.
here's your locker
Yeah,
room,
you're
whatever
speaking
you
about
need.
referees,
Yeah.
and we're
Parking,
speaking about
2,500 seats.
No, you couldn't
Yeah.
beat it.
No.
You couldn't beat
No.
that. I don't agree with taking 2 teams from Westmoreland County.
Well,
No,
Well,
put
no,
them in
no,
both.
no,
Put them in
no.
Newcastle.
But if it was
Yeah,
close enough,
absolutely.
they came to
Absolutely.
Newcastle.
Even in Allegheny County, 2 teams could come to Newcastle.
They would call, it was actually getting to the point where we had actually on a
Tell 'em
weekend,
no, right?
Tell 'em no,
Yeah.
because we were getting 2, am I right, Bobby?
Yeah.
Well,
3.
your team's out of practice too, right?
Yeah, your team out of practice, and it was getting to the point where one weekend I felt so bad.
Yep.
Maybe 7, 8 years ago, I had to
Yeah.
say, "Hey guys,
I
listen,
can't.
Can't
don't
do it.
use this against us. We just can't do it."
Yeah.
We had elementary coming in to do
That
what
happens.
they did, and
Yes, it does.
prior
Right,
to that, we
right.
had 4 weeks of solid
Sure.
basketball.
But they know darn well if you could, you would make every effort to do
Yes.
it.
Yes, we
Some
did.
things just can't be done.
Right.
That's all.
Yes.
We talked about this before we got on camera, but the atmosphere at the field house and down at Butler or at NA, haven't seen the gym pack since that way,
Yeah.
where people were fighting to get into the
Yeah,
gym.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
has changed.
Standing in the aisle.
Line
And the
up
old
2 hours
timers
early.
and the
hours
old
before the
timers have
doors
passed
open.
away.
Yes.
Right, Zig?
Yes.
The old timers have passed away.
Yeah.
Down the
Well,
road.
listen, you're saying that you mentioned, you're mentioning a trend. You actually illustrated this point when you talked about no one wanting to be an official.
Right.
Nobody wants to coach. Nobody. This is an era where people do not want to participate.
Right.
They want to hide behind a phone or
Keyboard.
and tell you what a rotten restaurant you have.
Yes.
Or what a bad experience that they had
Right.
here. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because
Somebody
they've been
right, you know.
empowered,
Yeah.
by the internet. Nobody wants to go out there
you're
and
right.
run.
You're
and
right.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
sure,
right.
but it spills over into everything.
Oh, right.
You can't get firemen, you can't get
No.
policemen, you can't get guys to deliver the mail, you can't get sanitation workers.
Things have
You can't
changed.
get them.
Change.
You're saying is things have changed in the
Oh,
whole.
well, there's no question.
And
Listen, change is the only constant.
Right,
The good thing about change is sometimes there's change for the better.
right.
The bad thing about change is sometimes there isn't.
Right, right.
No, you're right.
Sometimes there's change for change's sake, like they make these rules. If it's not broken, leave it alone.
Yeah, don't fix
The
it.
baseball, what were they talking
Let
about
it
now,
ride.
doing something in baseball that you're going to let pick a guy in a crucial situation in ninth inning that you can put up at bat anybody you want? Even if he
anybody.
just
Pick
fly,
anybody.
we're
Pick
going to let
anybody.
we're gonna let Judge hit twice. He struck out, but we're going to put him up again.
Put him up
What are you
again.
doing?
I don't
It's
know.
a beautiful game. Leave it alone.
Right, exactly.
Leave it
You're
alone.
absolutely right.
For goodness sakes.
Yep.
But these guys have to, these people have to justify their existence. So they throw these, and then it's also what we said earlier. I don't know, you got people in charge of hen house that don't know anything about hens,
Right.
right?
You're
They're
right.
letting foxes in.
Right.
Well, don't do that because they're gonna eat the hens.
Right.
You know, but they don't know any better.
They don't know.
So it's unfortunate, but that's very, very true. This is a definitely, you know, everybody's parents. Your parents would have said the same thing my parents said. I remember your mom and dad. Certainly remember your mom and dad's guys, and they would tell you that it's different then when we were.
Sure.
But it's different now.
Oh, my God.
It's
Yes,
different.
it is.
And everybody's saying it.
It's a new
no one
level.
can deny it. It's not. It's different now. And I can't sit here and say different for the best.
No, you're right.
You know what? One of the greatest lines I've ever heard was, somebody said, "All things good and evil begin with Google." Right? You can Google how to make your body into a bodybuilder and vitamins you need to take and hair and this and what's good for you. You could also Google how to make a bomb.
Yes.
You know what I mean? How to make a gun with a
3D
Yeah.
printer.
3D printer.
3D printer. Make a gun.
Can you imagine that? Because it's not on anybody's record
No.
anywhere. You know? So this is
You're
what's
right. What
what some
society's
people are
coming
spending
down
their
to.
time doing. You know, not good.
No, it
You know,
isn't.
Good.
you know, back to the shortage of high school officials. If you're interested, I'll help you pass your test
Me.
because I'd love to see you.
I'd
in a
love to
striped
see
shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be a
When you
documentary.
put that shirt on, it would catch fire.
Yeah. Yeah. It might. It might. You know, it's true. It's kind of what happens to me at night and in the morning when the sun comes up. Got to go back in my coffin until the sun goes back down again.
John, you never lost your wit.
Oh, why would you?
Yeah,
It
right.
keeps you going, guys.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Keeps
what
you
did,
going.
what did Coach Valvano say? You got to laugh every day.
He did. Yeah. Laugh every day, cry
My
every
mother
day.
used to say, if you don't laugh.
Think every day.
My mother used to say, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was her famous
Sammy,
line.
I love that line.
Yeah, if you
It's
don't
so
laugh,
true.
you're gonna
It is.
Don't take everything so darn serious, you know?
live the day,
Or
day
you'll
by
have a heart
day.
attack.
Sure will. Good thing there are doctors out there who know what they're doing.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, when I had my surgery, the doctor that performed my surgery, life-saving surgery, was on the original Allegheny General McGovern team that was on the cutting edge of, now it's come so far, and now the best place to go is probably Cleveland.
Yeah.
Taking nothing away from Pittsburgh. But at the end of the day, I had a guy that learned under the top guys in the world. What were the chances of that? I was in Sharon, Pennsylvania, you know, and I had one of the top heart surgeons on the planet.
Right there.
Right?
Right there.
Or Johnny Boy is watching this podcast from up there.
Look at them guys.
Yeah. Hi, guys. How's it going?
God's
I know
plan,
you can't
Coach.
hear me, but I.
God's plan.
Yeah.
John, just in case
You're right.
anybody, since you left Newcastle, tell what everybody, what you and Joey are, what are you doing nowadays?
Yeah, I just want to illustrate what you said. The Bible says, man plans and God laughs. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's
Yeah, because
absolutely.
our plans don't matter.
Don't matter.
It's only
one
his
bit.
plans. Right. So, Joe and I are in business together with other members of our family, and we, after doing a lot of due diligence, we decided that we wanted to bring smiles to people's faces. And so we sell frozen custard and Italian ice at Rita's. We have a shop in Hermitage, of course, and we also have one in Austintown in Ohio. So and we also have a food truck that does quite a bit because we have a really good product.
Right.
So
Yes, you
I'm
do.
here to tell you that in the 5 years that I've been doing it, I have made over 5,000 Italian ices.
Wow.
5-gallon buckets of Italian ice. That's all I do all day long. I got to make the donuts.
Gotta make the donuts.
Like I feel like Ziggy, Bish's father, when they used to own
Dunkin' Donuts.
Rico's Dunkin' Donuts. When his father-in-law, I got to get up and make the donuts. I have to get up and make the ices. This is
You and Joe.
my right-hand
You and
guy
Joey.
right
But I
here.
want to know, Joe, every time I come up here, you're working and he's never there.
Yeah,
What's going on?
yeah.
You're doing all the work, Joe.
It's probably the difference
right?
between 27 and 67. I might have something.
My man was going
a little bit.
He was getting internet orders. He was doing everything.
Oh yeah, he does. He
What are
does
you
the whole.
talking about? I make bread.
He's a bread
See,
man.
there you go, Sammy. So, just a story, because many times I've been asked, why don't you put one in Newcastle? Why didn't you put one in Newcastle? Well, we tried. And the place we tried to put it was the Brewsters. But when they ran the numbers, Rita's wouldn't let me do it. Well, you'd have had one right here. That's the truth.
So
That's the
the
truth.
franchise will tell you.
Franchise
where
has
you
to
can.
approve where you can and can't go.
And that's off numbers and
Population,
flow, traffic-
demographics,
yeah.
socioeconomics, all those things. They have the wheel that generates, they'll tell you almost to the 10,000 how much money you're going to make in a year, gross. And they're right on.
No kidding.
And they're right on.
And John, I know you do a lot with the schools up there.
I
see
do.
You take the
Yes.
pictures, you put them online with the
I do,
kids.
yeah.
And that's all given back.
And we donate, and we want to donate, and we're blessed, and we're not, we don't need breeders to make $100 million to survive, because they've had a great pension and a great experience at Newcastle. This was the greatest blessing of my life.
We're glad you
The
came.
20
Yeah, we're glad you
years
came.
that I spent
Yep,
in the
absolutely.
Big NC was the biggest blessing of my life. It gave me my children and all my memories, and you know what I would change? Nothing.
And
Nothing.
welcomed you with open arms when you did come here.
They absolutely
Everybody
did.
did.
100%.
John,
Yes.
like we've said, we've had so many memories with you, and we'd like to have you back one day
I'd love
because
to, sure.
this is like, we can go on for 3 hours.
Oh, I know.
But
I
think
could listen to you guys
I heard
for
about
3
6 guys'
3
stomachs
days.
starting to gurgle, meaning they're hungry.
Chip,
But listen, I want to go ahead.
He took a bite out of my shoulder.
Well, we've got food there, but I want to thank
So
some
that's
people.
not a wing, John. It's
Right.
my arm.
There's some people I want to thank, and they've been so great to our show, especially Denny. Denny Flora is our sponsor, VENTI say.
Little Denny,
And
yes.
tonight we had pizzas donated from Joe Sad at Pizza Joe's out in
Nice,
Orange Village.
nice.
We had
Good friend.
Nick Turco at Nick Turco
Nicky.
at Turco's Pizza.
Yes.
And Freddie Ferrone.
Yeah,
Freddie
I know
owns
Freddie
a
too.
catering service
Yeah,
with
of
his
course,
brothers,
of course.
and they own Riardo's. He donated a tray of meatballs and penne tonight. So, and thank all the people that came down tonight. We want to thank that guy in the red suit.
Yeah, Santa!
Santa Claus.
Santa!
remember, I want a drone for Christmas.
What did you say you want?
Ziggy wants a drone for Christmas.
Ziggy wants a drone for Christmas. Thank everybody. Thank Ronnie for having us.
Thank you, guys.
He put our studio from upstairs. He put it downstairs.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a good scene
Looks
here,
fantastic.
and everybody came in. A lot of family and friends are here tonight. Thank the people that brought the toys in.
Yep.
For Toys for Tot, and my daughter Rachel. She went out and.
Is Rachel here?
Yeah, she's here.
Rachel's
She
here.
did.
She's right
She
there.
she works.
My
at
eyes are
Lock-
bad. I can't see from
She
here.
works
She's
at
over here on
Lockley.
the
She's
corner of the
right
bar.
there.
Okay.
You couldn't
Okay.
see
She
when
wears
you
a
were coaching.
Laurel.
That's true.
She wears a
Neither
Laurel-
could you.
You're right.
What are these?
I can see if my glasses were on.
Yeah, me too. That's right.
But anyway, she got a list of names. Last year we had 20 needy families for the Newcastle area
Yeah.
school district. She got I think there's 20 more this year. And we're going to do is we have a target date. And I think Rach, is that the Saturday we said to pick the toys up? This Saturday?
Do you need donations,
11,
guys?
that we're going to pass out to the families that she's doing with that lady at the school. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we're going to make
Rachel?
them pick them up at Cascade Park, 11 to 2. Rachel and I last year, we delivered them, and and we should all be fortunate
Oh, yes.
the way that our kids can go to a refrigerator.
Listen,
they
when you
can
work
go
in
into
the schools, you
refrigerator.
know.
Yes.
Yes, you know
Yes.
that. And we did the underprivileged and it was really, really.
That's awesome.
It was
It's a
sad.
great
in a way.
blessing.
But you
Yeah.
had a great feeling when you handed them,
Yes.
and you knew at Christmas time
Yeah.
they weren't getting anything.
Yeah.
And just to make them smile a little bit.
Hard
was
for us
nice.
to even understand that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was just a blessing that the good people have given us stuff to give back to
Listen,
the other people. you know.
This, if you're down, there are a few places better than this place to
Right,
be.
right.
Because they'll raise you right
know how
up
to
again.
rally.
Yeah, and these
And
guys.
as you mentioned, no shortage of good places to eat either.
Oh, no,
Not in
no way.
Newcastle.
No, not here.
Not here.
We come here twice a week to eat.
The new one's right over here.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I saw pictures of it on
Yep.
Facebook, didn't recognize
They
it.
got robbed.
Yeah, go.
Go
How about
figure.
that?
But they caught the guy.
Welcome
They
to the
caught him.
neighborhood,
Yeah,
right?
not
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right.
Yep.
But anyway, listen. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank
Hey,
you.
come
Love to
back.
see you
Come back,
guys.
Coach.
Enjoyed
Great
every
seeing
minute
you.
of it.
Absolutely.
Real quick before we end, you mentioned how much you enjoyed your number of years in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And Larry Kelly, who's a great friend of all of us, talks about it all the time. Being a Newcastle guy.
Yeah?
You weren't a Newcastle guy, but you came here and you became a Newcastle guy.
Guy.
And you want to laugh, John, and I appreciate that. That
Yep.
means a great deal to me.
Yes.
You'll never know
Yep.
how much when people would say that. But to the people up north, I am a Newcastle guy. They don't know anything about New York. To
Exactly.
the people there, he's a Newcastle
He
guy.
came from Newcastle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's, I don't say anything, but yes, I did.
Yep.
And we were proud to have you.
Yes,
Still are.
absolutely.
Thank
Still are.
Thank you.
You know what? We'll be back. We're going to take 2 weeks off. We have Christmas. We're always on a Wednesday, so we're going to have Christmas Day next week, and the following week's New Year's Day. So we're taking 2 weeks off. We need a little breather.
Oh, yeah.
We need a breather. So we wanted you in. It's been so long we wanted
Yeah.
you in.
Yes.
I
We got you
appreciated
here.
that,
I'd like to have you here one night with Kenny Lavovi. I got
Oh!
Kenny.
Yes, we
I
want
got
Kenny.
Kenny on the hook, but I can't get him to come in.
Why?
Yeah, we're gonna work it out. So it's gonna be one of these sessions.
Maybe one of the playoff game, when the
Yeah.
playoffs start.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
he
always-
has a job,
I'm
and that's
retired
understandable.
now.
He works different things, but I'm
Yeah.
sure Kenny can
He'll come
have a
for
million
Oh,
memories,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and you got a million memories, Kenny. As far as we're all concerned, and we talked about it before, we all felt Kenny missed his calling.
Yes.
Oh,
He
yeah.
missed his calling.
Oh, yeah.
He missed his calling. He could have been
Big time.
big time doing
No
something.
question.
Yes.
You ever hear the guys that do the games now sometimes?
Yeah.
They don't know if it's blown up, stuffed, or,
Right.
you know what I mean?
You're
I
absolutely
mean,
right.
Come on.
You're right there.
Really?
You're right.
Did he
Yes,
just
he
say,
did.
I would say, did he just say that? You know? About
Listen.
basketball. I don't
Oh, yeah.
question anybody about football.
He came on when in
They don't know if it's a
81,
zone or a
81,
man-to-man.
82.
Yeah.
True.
When we went to the WBO Championship in 82, Kenny was just started at KST
40-some
Yeah.
years.
Imagine that.
Late, great.
and was tremendous on the radio.
He was Marky
Yes,
too.
and
Mark
Mark.
Shaw.
He was Mark is a great kid.
Yes, he
was one of the pieces, and Mark as well, of the puzzle that came together to make this Newcastle experience what it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Nobody else has it.
Nope.
And you can't pull any one of those puzzle pieces out. No.
You're
Because
right.
it's what makes it
Yes.
all
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Nobody else has
No,
that.
you're right.
You know?
You're right.
Absolutely.
Thank everybody again. Thank you. And everyone
Thank you,
out there,
Sam.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas
Yep.
and a happy
Happy
and
New
safe
Year.
New
Merry
Year.
Christmas.
John
Amen.
Sarandrea, thank
Amen.
you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sam.
Love
Coach.
to have
you,
you back.
buddy.
We're going to get you back. Love
Merry
you too.
Christmas.
Bobby, you end
Keep
it?
working.
Keep working. Good
Great
night.
to see